Hello, Warriors. What a day yesterday. President Trump had a buy signal before the postponement, the 90 days, posted on True Social. So if you saw his buy signal, I think his subscriptions are 185 a month now, and there's a $2 trial. So check it out. How you doing, AJ? Ingmar? Mike, how are you? James Kman's here. Marty Rays, are you new? Good morning to you as well. Hi, Steve. Hugo, you got railed over? Okay. It's historic. So let's take a look at things. Yeah, turn the machines back on. Hi, Ren. Haven't seen your name in a while. Okay. So weaker dollar as well. Weaker US dollar yen. So here's it. Didn't mean to do that. Though. I guess oh, no, I don't have to do that. Get rid of that. Oh, I just got rid of my charts, Blake. You'll have to take over.
Okay. We'll do that. Give me one
Thanks.
second.
I'm here too if you want.
Yeah, Stella's
Yeah.
here. So
All
I'll
right.
have to do that.
Yeah, okay. Real quick, Stelios, I
Go
was in
for
the
it. Go for
process
it.
of just kind of flipping everything over.
Yeah.
Well, good morning, everybody. That yesterday was probably it was probably my best trading day in years. And I want to echo the sentiment. I want to echo the sentiment of what Kman said during the flow show. I mean, Kay, you and I were in the thick of it. In the hey, good morning. We were in the trades room. I mean, it was an epic day yesterday. We were pretty well prepared for what had happened. And when it happened, it was I don't know how to explain it. It was pretty much the most amazing trading session I've had in, like I said, years. What do you think?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy, wasn't it? I actually wasn't in front of the screens when he declared it, but as I was showed as well on the flow show, he gave us a heads up, like when it was in Trump version 1, right? When he gave us a heads up on the NFP, remember? He now did it on his Truth Social platform less than 4 hours before we scrambled back on the main, well, on the biggest reciprocal tariffs, barring versus China. In the London afternoon, your morning, he gave us a little bit of a hint there, right?
Yeah.
Saying that it's time to buy it. So he probably gave the hint to all his mates, and well, we were prepared for it as well. We prepared our colleagues and our fellow traders in the room, and it was a very good trading day for ForexAnalytix globally.
Yeah, you can this is a good example of you can see the positioning I was in ahead of the news, ahead of the headline. And I was just like, oh, trading around all this stuff. And then next thing you know, I mean, it was bonkers. I mean, what I was end up closing out. And it was so busy that we were in the general chat room closing out positions because you didn't have time to flip back and forth. But I guess where we're at right now is just I have to say this is really, really critical resistance, and we're rejecting at critical resistance too. I mean, if you look at even the patterns in play in ForexAnalytix yesterday, we closed out Bitcoin at the highs, crude oil at the highs. The S&P, whoops, that's not the chart I wanted to go over. The S&P basically stopped at 5,500. I mean, that is, previous flag support. So, the great thing is about where we're at today. And I know we have CPI today, but the greatest thing about where we currently trade is we know exactly where the market goes. Like like there's a deal with China. We're going back to all-time highs. I might be exaggerating there, but because I do think that a lot of what's happened over the last couple of weeks have really shattered long term, more of the how should I say, confidence and in markets and in general. But I will say, if we break above 5,500, that's going to be freaking bullish. And it could happen as early as today, depending on what happens with all these negotiations. You never know, but that is really the key level, and I love it. As a trader, that's what we yearn for, right, Dale? That's what we wait for. We wait for those are the levels that I know. When or if we break 5,500, it's going to squeeze. It's going to trigger a lot of stops, and that's like the moment in time when you're trading where you have the most confidence. I mean, there's no 100% I'm guaranteed to make money, but there is a point where you go, I am so confident that if this happens, that this will happen. If this, then X will happen, and I'm very, very, very confident. So I know if we get above 5,500 for any substantial amount of time, call it, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, we're probably going to continue to squeeze another 100, 200 points. And it's hard to find that in the markets, but I think we now know where that level is. What do you say about that, Dale?
Only thing we really know, we can project, but the only thing we know is that this market cannot take out 4,800. Okay, that's something that I know.
Yeah, and
We
that's
take out.
another great.
Well,
That's
let me
another
finish
great
my
point.
answer. So at 4,820, if we take out 4,800, it measures 35.
Well,
So, but I think we could blow to 7,000 by the summer.
but that's another great point. What you're doing is you're reaffirming what I just said.
Yeah,
We know below 4,800, if it breaks, lights out, right? I mean, that's
yeah.
basically what you're saying.
Well,
I
it
mean,
measures 3,500.
so again, what I'm trying to point out is what happened yesterday is beautiful. It's beautiful because I can seriously look at the market and say, above here, we're going higher. Below here, we're going a whole hell of a lot lower. And that's, reaffirmed by what happens right here. And actually right here too. So, the great news is we have this playground now, and it's a 700 point playground. It's right here. You guys can see it. And guess how long we're probably going to be in this playground? I'm gonna give you guys a chance to answer that. How long do you think we're going to be in this playground, Kman?
I think for a while.
90 days. Look at you guys. Galaxy Note. Ziani, Dimitri, AJ. Yeah, that's right. Probably 3 months. I mean, obviously, if something happens between now and then, but I mean, we're looking at between now and July 9th, we're probably going to be trading somewhere around these ranges, and that's great. I mean, look, we as traders, all we want is volatility. We want more confirmation levels. We want levels where we know, hey, if we break here, it's going to be bullish. We break here, it's going to be bearish. We kind of got all of that yesterday. And on top of it, the cherry on top is we got massive moves. So, anyway, I'll leave it at that. Dale, did you find, well, let's give it to Stelios because
Yeah.
Stelios is looking at the markets from his yacht afar, and with his laptop across the room. What are you seeing, Stelios, from across the room, and how do markets look today?
Let me take my sunglasses off first.
Yeah,
No,
you
kidding.
should. You should.
So share screen one. Here we go. Okay, first of all, I have to say that I think we all agree that this market is just completely driven by headlines at the moment, and there's a lot of people who are comparing the previous sell-off with 2008, and I think it's completely different because 2008 there was a proper macro reason and driver for all this, for what happened. What's happening in the past few days is driven by one person, and he has the power to tweet something, maybe take a position before that, but tweet something and everything changes. So I think we're going to be chopping around. I agree, but it's becoming more and more difficult to actually think of the situation on a macro level because there really is no macro at the moment. So um, it's a very tough market. The S&P you talked about, I agree 100% about the range, and Dale talked about 3,500. There's a huge area which is between 35 and 3,600, and really that is the next massive, absolutely massive support zone. Will we get there? I don't think so, but that's the next level. We always talked about 4,800 and then back down to 3,600. We go to 4,800 very quickly. But now we're obviously trying to bounce. The question is, what happens after the 90 days, or during the 90 days? And my feeling is that because the tariff numbers are so ridiculous, 104% or 125 or wherever we are now, there is just no way that numbers like that can actually stay in place and be enforced. I think this is all just a game for Trump, and he's trying to get a win against the other countries. With some, he's getting it. Some countries are coming to the table saying we're going to take off all our tariffs if you do. Some, like China, are not. So it's a tricky one. And the more ridiculous these numbers are, the more I am convinced that within the 90 days there's going to be some kind of an agreement, and then we're going to move forward and go back to worrying about the economy deteriorating on its own enough, tariffs aside.
Stelios, so let me ask you this question. I mean, from outsider, I got some views from Richard Matthews and
Yep.
and Michael Brown earlier this week. Just your point of view as a Greek, as a European, looking at what's happening. How confident would you be, or are you, that about the current state of where the United States is at and what they're trying to do? I mean, you look at this and you've got to have an opinion, and not
Yeah.
and don't try to be politically correct here.
Yeah.
We want to hear it from your point of view of somebody that is not in the United States.
Well, I talk about the situation with quite a few of my friends, and I've said this before. I have a few very wealthy ship owner friends, and they're all amazed at how badly the situation is being handled, or at least they think it's being handled badly. And I have to agree. This theoretically, getting on a neutral tariff rate with your counterparts, or even better, getting rid of them altogether, is the way forward. You want to let markets find their own equilibrium. But the sentiment, and my view as well, is that Trump could have done this a lot better, in a lot smoother way, instead of throwing the toys out of the pram and doing all the stuff he's doing. So I think the view from outside is not really positive, in terms of how the U.S. government is treating this.
Sure. I mean, he's going for shock and awe, obviously,
Yep.
and he's getting it. But the reason why I'm asking this is again, this is non-political, but it's important because this is why I say your point of view is the reason why I believe that we are going to have a kind of a fractured environment. And so, the chances of us going to all-time highs, I'm not in that camp yet. I can't see growth exploding at this point in time. I can't see like earnings just going bazonkers right now because everybody's going to be clamoring to do business with the United States. I think everybody's going to be very hesitant, to be honest. And even if their guard comes down a little bit, their guard's still going to be up to a certain extent. And I think trade will look a lot different after everything's said and done. And it's not going to be, I don't know if it's necessarily going to be to our benefit or to anybody's benefit for that matter.
I agree. People are going to be very cautious. Companies
Yep.
are going to be very cautious. But in terms of new all-time highs, unfortunately, new all-time highs will come either way. The question is, how long will it take? Because of the way inflation and money
Fast.
supply keeps getting inflated, and it's the way it is. And um, Elon Musk is trying to cut spending. Well, this is the direction that money supply, US M2 money supply has been going. We had a little bit of a dip here, but really the direction is still higher. As long as that's the case, I don't see how we're not going to get to new all-time highs. Will it take a year, 2 years, 3 years? I don't know, but we're going to get there.
Yeah.
That's a problem. That's a problem. But the other thing I want to talk about is yields very quickly. I've been talking about yields going lower for a while. We touched, I mean, look how nicely technically this worked. We touched 78.6 almost to the pip in the 10-year US, bounced really quickly higher because of all the uncertainty from the tariffs. Back into this channel or whatever you want to call this. Excuse me. I still think that the bias is for lower yields. For how much longer, I don't know, but I would still my bias is still there. If we break above, say 450, then everything changes for me. But for now, that's my bias, and that's the way I'm playing it. We have to also mention
Were you
precious
buying
metals.
bonds?
Not at the moment, but if we get close to that 450 level, I'm definitely going to take a shot at it. Um, Metals, we have to have a look. Same that I've talked about for so many times. Gold is still trading really, really well. Gold to silver ratio 101. I mean, at these levels, only COVID, we saw higher levels only during the COVID crisis. So at these levels, you have to favor silver, but of course, it's underperforming again. So, I still have my positions. Average, for 23.10 and 42, sorry, 30. 245 or something like that. I have to check back. So one is under, the other one is well in the money. I'm still holding those, and I'm considering adding again, but for now I'm just watching how things go. And lastly, I'll just briefly mention oil. For me, it's a breakdown, and this is disinflationary any way you look at it. And that's another reason why I think yields are going to be moving lower, edging lower, let's say. And uh, any rally up towards 64, 65, I think is a great, retest and move lower. So a great short risk reward, which I am definitely going to take, and I'm going to put in the chat room when I do.
Awesome.
That's it for me.
Hey, Dale, did you want to take over the charts for a few minutes and
No,
show people?
that's okay, Blake. I'll just wait for you could go ahead.
Okay, I just want to make sure. And well, let me ask you this. So, since I've got control of the charts right now, and thank you, Stelios, for being here. What are you looking at right now, Dale? Like you said you're looking for all-time highs in the stock market, but is that today, tomorrow? What are you looking for?
No, I think that we're there by August, and
Really?
it's going to happen fast. And
Oh.
they have a lot of people wrong-footed. Of course, it would be confirmation negating the breakout at 55, but I think that's going to happen.
Oh, okay. All right. All right.
And
Anything else
that's it.
you got your eyes on before we turn it over? I
I'm
go
on
to
the other
Kman for some
side of
questions.
yeah, I'm on the other side of the trade of Stelios. I bought crude yesterday. I just need closes back over 62. I have different lines, but 62 was a big area for me.
Yeah,
You
that's
know what?
this level, right?
It's really married to the S&Ps. I've been watching both of them, and they're both trading together, based, I guess, on economic strength or whatever, or risk on, risk off. But crude is trading with S&Ps. It was declining with it before it turned, and it turned with it yesterday. So,
Well,
uh,
Dale, I'm gonna be on the opposite side of you here in a little bit because I'm actually buying I'm actually getting short some individual names today. So I'm really that's something that I'm gonna be doing as long as we trade below 5,500. We get above 5,500 in the SPOOs, then I'll know that I'm wrong. But that's the great thing about where we
yeah, what are
trade.
you
Like,
shorting?
I'm
Individual
not
names.
willing to give up that information here. So
Oh, wow. Okay.
yeah, I don't I tell when we're talking on the morning edge and the daily roundup, I talk about a lot of individual stocks there, and
Yeah,
those are private shows for Forex Analytics subscribers. So people know
that's
when
good
I'm,
stuff.
I've got some puts on and I've got calls. I actually just got out of some Tesla calls yesterday, which was nice. But I play around in individual names and kind of move money around there, and I will be targeting some of that today. But let's talk about Kman or Kman. Let me ask you about CPI today. How much does it matter to you? Because it matters to me. I made my case yesterday on the trade-off show. But how are you looking at inflation? Because now all of a sudden inflation is going to be back in the spotlight, right?
it is going to be back in the spotlight, but March is about a century ago in Trump terms.
That's
So
true.
I think it's not going to be more than an algo blip unless we, of course, always the same thing, unless we get far from expectations data, right? But I really think it's less important. And what I also said on the flow show is that I reckon and for as long as we hover in the same zone to 200, 250 on the initial claims, but we need to pay quite close attention to job markets data and the initial claims being relatively close to the market in terms of timing, being quite fresh. They may start to see a bit more importance if or when we get out of that 200, 250, 180, 270 zone, right? If we start to have data outside of there, perhaps the market is going to to pay attention. Inflation, yeah, I mean it's always going to be on the top of people's minds because Powell told us that he's still looking at inflation and growth now on an even basis. So yes, we have to look at inflation, but the numbers we have today are from before the tariff announcements, right? So I think the market will move on pretty quickly from them.
I mean, look at the euro already, we're almost at 111 here.
Dollar has an
And
issue, right?
yeah, I mean, I don't know if it just traded or not. But man, the euro looks so damn strong at this point in time. I mean, okay, so let me ask you this. Strong data. The dollar firms up. We see yields bounce a little bit. What are you gonna buy, or are you gonna use that to sell into? That's
Yeah,
probably the better question.
I think if I see levels back and a, a cable also in the higher 28s around 28, 60, 70 or so,
So you're gonna look for
I'm
this
interested to buy it again.
like that, right?
Yeah, and you know what we talked about yesterday, Blake, about those fakies on the downside in Aussie and Kiwi.
Yes,
They have like really bounced, and I think they may be a candidate now for any setback to find buyers in for as long as there is enough positive uncertainty on the tariff question.
right.
I think those two may be pretty decent candidates to buy into decent dips.
So let me visualize that for everybody. So with the Aussie dollar, we had this what Kman saying is we had this false breakdown in the Aussie, which allowed I like I said, I was short Euro Kiwi yesterday after that news, or into that news, and it's a very similar type of situation. You have an opportunity here if the data is strong and the Aussie has a little bit of a setback to, like, let's say 61 cents or so, to maybe pick it up and look if you clear this 62 cents, if you pick it up here and then it clears here, you've got a really nice long position with a good average. So hopefully let's just hope, right, K-Man, we get some strong data today, which
Yeah,
affords us some opportunities to get short the dollar at a little higher prices because the dollar looks like shit.
yeah, it does. I mean, it does. When we walked in this morning, I was thinking about this dollar move and then the levels where euro dollar cable Aussie and stuff. Obviously Aussie and Kiwi, they got a lift on the back of those on the back of these pause. But cable euro dollar saw setbacks. Dollar yen big rally and look where it stopped once more around that 148, right?
Right.
And then walking in this morning and looking at the levels, I was like, nah, this is not really looking good for the dollar, you know. And so I do think that the market is now in the kind of mood or need or mood to sell dollar rallies, at least for now.
Yeah, this dollar. So we were Benedict in our chat room. He's actually been. I got to meet him in person actually in North Carolina 2 years ago, and he trades at a desk and for a bank as well, and he's always looking at charts in our chat room, and he pointed me or pointed all of us to this big channel in the dollar yen, which was great because we were playing into it yesterday. We got long into the channel support yesterday, which obviously you can see the outcome of that. But what's really interesting is we're getting very close to that support, and it's scary too, because if the dollar yen starts breaking through here, you already know the dollar index looks bad. You know the euro's back at 111. I mean, you know, the dollar yen starts breaking down. That's really going to put the dollar index, you know, I rim here for dollar bulls. I noticed Steve is here. Steve, you saw this price action yesterday, and I know you've been making comments in the morning edge, which is in about 45 minutes from now. What are your thoughts right now, just, you know, after the dust is settled for 24 hours? What are you seeing? Let's see if he's here. Ah, he is here.
I mean, if you ask me, it's obviously clear capitulation, right? They got scared of, you know, what was obviously happening and how it was unfolding.
Right.
And of course, they're going to present it like, you know, it was like a tactical move, etc. I don't think none of that is the case. I think that they were hoping to be able to, you know, to go harder. But, you know, they got plenty of signals and warnings that that was not a good idea.
Yeah, he didn't listen to anyone until the billionaires complained to him, after Kman and some of the other people.
Well,
I'm pretty sure it wasn't only...
that's what he said, but it's more of, you had as we talked about yesterday, you have stocks declining, bonds declining, and the dollar declining. That's a 100% confidence loss in the US. That's a he was playing chicken with the market, and the market won. I mean,
yeah, I agree 100%.
That's what happened. He can blame it and say, "Oh, I got calls. People were worried," which he did say. That's not it. He was afraid we were going to absolutely be down 30% yesterday.
Yeah, and I think for a good reason.
Yeah, of course.
I think for a very good reason.
Yeah. So now, Steve, how do you view this? I mean, what's the play now? What do you think?
You can never be certain, meaning, will they be trying again the same soon? Who knows? Who knows in what sense? If they see the market, you know, going back to, like, you know, everything is all right, nothing happened, they might feel comfortable of, you know, playing hard again. One thing is for sure, this is going to be an interesting period of time, and like it or not, we're heavily dependent on news announcements, rumors, etc. But for the time being, it's more than clear that, you know, this 180 degrees turn was definitely, you know, extremely market positive. Now, will market participants be brave enough, since theoretically speaking, the tariffs towards the rest of the trading partners were just postponed? Will market participants be brave enough to push equities to new highs? I kind of doubt it. I think that we're going to, after celebrating yesterday and perhaps a little bit longer, I think that there is going to be a little bit of a doubt in the market that if it's a good idea to consider that everything is done and dusted and, you know, it's business as usual. So we might see a period of indecision ahead, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Hey, we're literally just less than 2 minutes away from data. Thank you, Steve, for your comments. Dale, anything you want to say before this data comes out? And do you have an interview today, by the way?
Yeah, I have Pavel Hala, who's been really hot in the markets.
Okay, cool. All right. Any thoughts, Dale?
Yeah, you know, I still think that we're going to strike Iran in the next couple of weeks. I'm going to be very interested in the market reaction to that. I think that'll be a real big test for the market, because you know what they say in bull markets, anything that could go wrong doesn't, and in bear markets, anything that could go wrong does. So we'll see how the market receives a military adventure in Iran.
Speaking about it, I don't think if anybody mentioned this. Right. Yesterday we had the third biggest up day in the markets. the only two stronger than this one happened during the biggest bear market of recent history,
Interesting.
Mark,
When?
when's that?
2008.
Oh,
Short
okay.
squeezes are
Yeah.
bear market squeezes are bear market rallies are
Yeah, so
very
keep that in
convincing.
mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. 7,500 by
How
August.
about a
Weak.
bit weaker?
Core 0.2 lower.
Wow.
CPI 0.1 lower than expected.
Yes.
Wow.
CPI
Weaker
data-
So
today.
now we
definitely
can get
better.
the Fed. Now we'll get the Fed behind the deals by May.
Yeah.
Joseph said May. That's next month. Okay, so we could have everything cooking. You know, the problem with this top is there was no euphoria the last time when we were at 6,100. You know, sentiment gauges and everything, bull bear, newsletter writers, everything. There was a lot of skepticism. So you really, to have a true top, we have to have champagne bottles uncorking. And maybe that happens into the summer.
Well, I'll tell you what, the dollar index is getting smoked right now, and we got the euro that is probably going to breach new trend highs. So what happens when we get above 111.50? We're going to meet this trend line from the Giselle top in the euro that was from 160 back in 2008 all the way to present day. That comes in right around, let's say, roughly 112, 112.20. We might see that today, guys. So this is going to be really, really crazy stuff.
Not that far away from Jim Welsh's long-term target of what, 95, 96 in the Dixie.
Oh, in the Dixie.
Yeah.
Gosh, I gotta look.
I mean 5 handles. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that would take us to, I
Here.
guess if we got to that trend line, it would take us down to 90, 96, 97.
That's where we're going. And
Yeah.
then, and maybe now, maybe Steve was right. You know, I was saying that risk on with a weak dollar was dead. Maybe it's not going to be dead if we're just going to puke to 95. That's going to goose everything.
Yeah, we will
We'll
see.
see.
Hey, don't forget, guys, we're going to be here tomorrow and for live for the producer prices. So it's a 1-2 punch. And remember, our sale is going live this weekend. We are going to be giving the lowest monthly rate you can lock in percentage wise ever. And this is our counter tariff moves in Forex Analytics. We talked about it earlier this week, and we are getting it, or last week, excuse me, right after Liberation Day. We were just getting all of our ducks in a row. It will be live this weekend. So this is the time you want to take a trial. So $1 for 10 days. You can try it out and then take advantage of the offer when it comes. So take your $1 offer, get in the chat room with us. And you can, I mean, unfortunately, I missed yesterday, but today is going to be probably equally as good. So
There'll be
Dale,
more
thank
days
you.
like that. Yeah.
What's that? Oh, we're
There'll
gonna
be
have
more
days
Yeah.
and days, 90 more
Yeah.
days.
Yeah.
Woo!
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, team. Thanks, Stell. If you're still here, you probably left already, but he did, right, Kay? All right, Kay, thank you. And
I'm still here
Steve.
with you, Taylor.
Steve, good to hear your voice. Blake, everybody, Dream Team, nice
Thanks,
work
Coach.
yesterday. You know, we told you needed to be in the chat room, so we've been pushing you. If you missed yesterday, just another reason. You know what? I was taking a nap, so I miss. I missed everything, Pavel. How are you? Great to have you back here, Pavel.
Yeah, hi
Hall
Dale.
of
Hi there.
spreadcharts.com. Pavel, so your last 2 times here, well, last time you were bearish crude and we had a big break. You were real right about that. And then I saw your tweet. It was near the top in copper before the stock crash that you were bearish copper. That was a big trade. Maybe you don't want to make a forecast now and just sit pat as someone on a roll and not make any new forecasts for a while.
Yeah,
You ever feel that way? God, I've been in the zone. Do I want to spoil it here? Anyway, what's top of mind with everything we saw yesterday, and what's your work telling you?
yeah, with regard to yesterday, I mean, it's hard to make any conclusion just yet. I mean, we have some crazy politicians here in Europe, but you guys, you raised the bar, so
Yeah, yeah,
that was just spectacular.
yeah,
But it's in the short term, anything is possible. The first data I saw on yesterday's close was not really much encouraging. It can change till the end of week, so maybe we will get some more breadth and some more decline in volatility. That would definitely help. But in the short term, I'm still think we are in a
bear market.
correction or bear market.
Mhm.
But that can change pretty quickly. But once again, I prefer to wait for the data. But
So
the
then
yes,
that would have me think that the bounce, copper had a pretty good bounce yesterday. You want to show your charts or your website or something,
sure.
or I could. So I would assume that if you feel that way, that any rally we have in copper is a sale.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
because that's what I want to talk about today. Because I continue to be bearish cyclical commodities like copper and oil. The downside in oil might not be too bad because there are, political
Yeah.
alignments with Saudis and domestic drillers that will prevent Trump or the OPEC or all these guys to nuke the price too much. So maybe it will continue to rather drift lower than crash. But I definitely continue to be bearish copper, and the reason is basically the same. Here is the comparison between the copper and the Chinese offshore renminbi, the Chinese currency,
Yeah.
which is in the middle
Okay.
subchart,
Yeah.
and you can see that it does not look really encouraging. And I think the outlook got even worse after yesterday's Trump announcement when he decided to go full steam ahead against China.
Yeah.
And this is unlikely to change in the near future. I think it's a bipartisan consensus.
Yeah.
And
That's the only thing they agree on.
yeah, exactly. So we saw that during the Biden
Right.
administration.
Yeah.
And even if Trump decides to make a deal, I think it will be very short-lived because when you look at the Senate or the consensus in the American Senate, it's quite clearly against China. That became obvious during the TikTok, the law. I don't remember the bill, the name of the bill, but the Senate was obviously or is obviously aligned against China much more than Trump.
But
So
I'm reading, and there were some attendees saying that Trump wants TikTok to stay, and people are kind of thinking that that could be, a big thing for him to maybe relent with China if he could get a TikTok deal. Do you think it's related?
yeah, I definitely think it's related, or at least Trump thinks
Yeah,
it's
that
related.
and that's
So
all that matters right now. What the
exactly,
king thinks, right?
yeah,
So,
exactly.
okay, so maybe that's going to fall into place down the line too, so we could get TikTok. I think that's going to be a big thing. Uh, I know you're in the oil. Are you concerned at all about? I think there's going to be a military strike in Iran, uh, probably before month's end. Do you think that's going to have any impact? Not that um, Iran could, even if they don't hit Iranian oil fields and they just go for nukes. I've been reading that Iran, rather than retaliating against Israel, who has the dome, will make a move on Saudi Arabia to damage oil facilities there that would have more impact on the world for being hit. Uh, any of those concerns? And I know you're in oil. Aren't there a lot of bears in oil right now? I mean, we went nowhere for a year sideways, and then we broke down. Um, Who's bullish oil that you know? Anyone?
Yeah, the sentiment is definitely not as optimistic as before. On the other hand, I don't necessarily think it's outright panic
Pessimistic?
because
Yeah.
outright pessimistic because when I look at my preferred sentiment indicator, which is the net traders, basically the difference between the number of traders who are net long and net short for both Brent and WTI.
Yeah.
I have repeatedly told our users that when there is a real panic in the oil market, I want to see either this indicator for Brent or WTI, or preferably both, to be negative, like we saw in, for example, 2015,
2020.
2020. And right
What?
now we are
Oh, you mean
no,
the green stuff underneath is negative. You
yeah,
want to see it negative.
yeah, I want to see it negative.
Okay.
It's not a
COT.
it's not a necessary condition for a
Right.
bottom.
Right.
But if we are speaking about real panic and multi-year buying opportunity, that's what I want to see. And we are nowhere near close that yet. So
Because you know, if I just covered up the title, because anytime you look at a title, especially if you have positions on, you become subjective. So I cover this up and I don't know it's oil. Okay. And I look at the low from 2020, you know, COVID low. And then we have this huge move into the Ukrainian invasion. To me, it looks like over almost 3 years, all it's done nothing impulsive to the downside yet. It all looks like corrective action from that low in 2020 to the high in 2022. I mean, if you looked at a chart, couldn't you say that's possible?
yeah, that certainly looks that way.
Anyway, I'm talking my book now because I started buying oil calls this week. So anyway, just something, just the other side of the coin that I want to put out there is that a lot of people are very complacent, and no one. I don't think there's any risk premium in the crude oil market right now.
You're
Anyway,
correct. I mean,
you know, I mean, the Saudis raised their production, I think, because of what's going to happen in Iran to kind of cushion the market, and we also need to fill up the SPR again. So maybe Trump made a deal, you know, cut oil, you know, increase production, break the price of crude, so that cushions anything that might be a spillover from this, and that we would also start filling up our SPR through them. So that's my bullish oil narrative.
Well, few things. A tactical play going long crude oil, especially through options, speculating on war in the Middle East. That's a sound trade. I mean, it definitely makes sense. And if you
It's a
took
lottery.
advantage,
It's like
yeah,
buying
it's
a
a
lottery
lottery,
ticket.
definitely.
Yeah.
And especially if you took advantage of the recent sell-off due to the tariffs and everything. That's a sensible thing to do. However, I don't think the US necessarily have to replenish the SPR. We are no longer in the 70s or at the beginning of this century. The US is a major producer of crude oil, albeit, you lack the heavy stuff, but you know, Canada is there, and if you really want, Venezuela is over there. So that's not a problem. So the SPR can be refilled in the future, but there is no need to do it immediately. And regarding the war, yeah, it could happen, but I always ask myself how it benefits Trump, because I think it all comes down to this question. Does Trump really want a war in the Middle East? I think no, because it would mean higher prices, not just for oil, but it would you know, exacerbate the inflationary pressures around the world. So that would be generally bad for America. And his recent action in Yemen is clearly demonstrating to be a warning, but I'm skeptical that he has the guts to go in, all in against Iran. So I don't know. I think
So the B-1 bombers are like his tariff threats.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's
And he's
that's very possible.
And his
Uh,
recent turnaround yesterday proves the point. He's simply too weak to go full on. If there are some downsides for him personally and for the America, so I'm not too convinced that he will launch an outright war against Iran because the
okay,
incentives are simply not there.
okay. Well,
From my point of
we'll
yeah.
see. I mean, that's a rational argument. They also, he does also believe he put out, if anything ever happened to him, to obliterate Iran, because he believes that they were behind assassination attempts on him.
Exactly.
So,
It's all about him. If
right.
anything happens to him, I totally agree with you. But Trump only cares about Trump, no one else. So
Okay.
why
All
should
right.
he care about the geopolitical tensions in the Middle East with regard to Israel and others
Yeah.
if it doesn't concern him personally?
Yeah. I mean, look, I like what I'm seeing coming out of chat. Very low, limited strike. Again, complacency. No one's worried. So when I'm long something, you know, I like that. No, no one's worried about anything like this. Yeah, it's about regime change. Anyway,
Mhm.
could I
And
ask you? I don't know. It might be off topic from what you brought here today, but I know you're bearish copper. It's an industrial, and silver is kind of in between precious and industrial. Do you have a view on those other two metals? Anything in sentiment? You really can't find gold bears anywhere, can you?
yeah, that's true. But I like to get back to the point, which is that
Okay,
I
copper.
expect the Chinese yuan, the Chinese currency to break down,
Yeah,
and there will
part of
be
the trade war.
due to trade war and especially Chinese will have difficulty to find end markets for their goods. And it's not just about about the US; it's also about Europe, which will come to the conclusion that they have to protect their domestic market too against cheap Chinese goods. So maybe they will be not so theatrical as Trump, but there will be or there will come trade restrictions against China, even from Europe. So their position is not really good. So that's the reason why I expect the Chinese yuan to break down, and that will be bad for cyclical commodities. Another reason supporting my my view is that when I go back here, is that broad commodities, measuring by, for example, the Bloomberg Commodity Index, failed to break above this important resistance around 108. So I
What's the
think
makeup? What's the makeup of this commodity index? What's in this?
it's a broad-based index made of energy like crude oil, gasoline,
Okay,
and others.
grains
Metals,
or
yeah, grains,
oh,
metals, agriculture. Sorry, precious metals,
okay,
base metals. So it's a broad index,
yeah,
which is the reason why I like it because each individual commodity can be affected by I don't know, minor issues in its
yeah,
production or demand cycles, whatever. But if
yeah,
you take it on aggregate, it provides you a pretty good picture of the overall situation in commodity markets. And this failure to break above
yeah.
was important. And I expect it will eventually test the 90 level. I don't know what happens then, but that's my target. So this is aligned with my bearish thesis for cyclically sensitive commodities. And as I said, The situation in crude oil is difficult because, as you mentioned, the geopolitical tensions in the Middle East, no matter how it eventually evolves, and also the limited downside due to the Saudi interests and domestic shale drillers. So copper or industrial metals are much more vulnerable
Oh,
here. So
okay.
my
$3?
that's certainly possible. That's certainly
Okay.
possible.
Because I
So
mean that those two candles right there, we take out 4, it looks like it opens the door for 3.
definitely, yeah. I don't have any specific target in my mind, but
You know, well,
seasonalities, yeah.
okay, well, you're on copper. A friend of mine who, trades miners, he was saying a lot of gold companies now are actually going about changing their names from gold companies to copper companies because that's where they want to focus their mining efforts more in copper than gold. Have you heard
Yes.
or read anything about that?
Yeah, definitely. It's all over the place. And it's not just gold companies, but also platinum companies like the SBSW in South Africa. Everybody's
Uh-huh.
pivoting into battery metals and
Okay.
copper is not necessarily utilized in batteries, but it's heavily involved in electrification. So
For yeah,
it's
for those data centers and AI and the new chips and everything, it's part of the electrification, right?
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
another headwind for copper is the unfavorable seasonality starting near the end of April. So maybe there will be, or the bounce will continue. I don't know. I don't have a strong conviction in the short term, but in the medium term, I think copper will move much lower. So
Okay.
the
So it looks like we could
seasonality.
rally into May, sell in May and go away in copper.
Who knows? Who knows? In
Yeah,
the short, yeah,
I
there
know.
was a strong sell-off, so some mean reversion would be only natural. But
Yeah.
in the medium term and maybe long term, there's definitely much more downside. And one last thing I want to talk about because I was listening to you guys talking about currencies, and you were bearish the US dollar.
Yeah,
And
for quite a while
yeah, and I mean the number one opportunity, in my opinion, right now is the US dollar.
to buy
And
it, to
yeah,
buy it.
to buy it. I'm incredibly bullish the US dollar. Once again, maybe not in the very near term, which means days up to few weeks. We can go and retest 100. That's certainly possible by looking at the dollar index. But if you look at the sentiment measured, for example, by the commitments of traders data, below you can see that retail is net short the dollar futures, the dollar index futures, and the large speculators measured by the my favorite net traders index, more of them are now net short than net long. So the sentiment is becoming bearish.
Extreme bearish is
Yeah,
what you're saying.
it's not as extreme as we saw during summer last
Okay.
year. It's
So
not yet.
could we go to 95, which is an equality target if you go back to
Mhm.
if well, you got it right there. It would be equal to the peak we had in October 22 and that break down to 98 and then use that same count from 110 gets you down to 95.
I don't think
Or
so.
is that too much?
I,
That's too
I,
much.
I could be wrong, but I don't think so. If I zoom out,
Okay.
now I really zoom out, I'm really not good in trade charting lines and this stuff.
Yeah.
But for me, I don't know. You can place
Uh,
the line
that's
wherever you want. This
yeah,
is just a
okay.
consolidation after a breakout, and
All right.
I expect the dollar will move much higher. I don't know how much higher. I don't have any target, but I don't think we'll go above the high from the beginning of this century, about 120. So that's the number one opportunity in my opinion.
That is really interesting, Pavel.
It's
And
it's a bet on America, and this is something I was writing on my personal blog. So this is definitely a bet on America, because there is no alternative, or who will take the lead? You know, China? I don't think so, with their horrible demographics and breaking economic system. Europe is totally broken. You know, our economy is dictated by weather. You know, if it's too cold, we just shut down. So I
well,
think
were you,
there's
let me ask you this. Were you surprised with all this dollar weakness and the market going down? Because a lot of people have become accustomed to weak dollar equals risk on. And it certainly was risk off for a few months. You could plot the dollar over the triple Qs and they followed the same path.
Yeah, I mean, I was not surprised, because the dollar became overbought.
Okay.
Yeah, the price action. I mean, the positive
All right.
correlation with equities was definitely
I yeah. All right.
surprising,
Yeah.
but I think that was a natural rotation into emerging markets.
Yeah.
Especially China. If you look at the weights, it was mostly fueled by China, but
So that'll reverse then. The foreign markets outperformance that a lot of people are saying is a secular turn is a false start if you're right about the dollar. And I looking at your dollar chart that you showed before, I
mhm.
think we need a flush under a big round number to really get sentiment really bearish a dollar. And that's when I'll start looking at it.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly possible, but
Yeah.
I personally think in the short term, and it's a weakly held opinion, that we won't go below 100. We may
Okay.
drop and make a lower low below 101,
Yeah.
maybe, but this is certainly a strong support in my opinion. And my base case is that we will bottom, and the rally will resume. But
Okay. All right.
I'm
We'll
not sure
see.
about
That
the
looks
short
like
term.
98 with that line there. So
You
that's
know,
a
but
nice
as I said,
view.
I'm really not good at
I like
drawing
that line.
lines.
You're better than you think. You have that
Yeah.
tag there. So anyway, we're all, you know what, Pavel? We're all our own worst critics. You know
Maybe I
what I
will.
mean? The people look and go, "Oh, that's great stuff," and we go, you know. Anyway, congratulations on being in the zone. Also, for not just jumping from horse to horse when things begin to work, to look at things as just being another opportunity. A little bear market bounce in copper and sell more. Looks like 3 to me on your charts, bro.
Yeah, I agree. I think it will go much lower. So
Okay.
I
Why
will
don't
I
you
will
show?
watch the
Oh,
the the,
go.
the Bloomberg Commodity Index, and I'm really interested when the copper will trade when where the copper will trade when the BCOM hits 90. That would be interesting for
Okay.
me.
All right. People that want to follow you and get involved with you, why don't you show your website and um, what you have to offer them to check you out?
Sure, you can go to our website, thespreadcharts.com, and sign up for our app, which is the software you just saw, all the charts that has sentiment data, signals, and everything, seasonality, uh, decades of historical data. And we also publish our own research, for example, not just about commodities like copper or oil, but also macro and other stuff. So just go to our website and get started, either for free to try the app and the software for free, or sign up for the full version.
Very reasonable for 3 months, 40 a month.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. We're very cheap.
RC says in 2018, Mighty Dollar defiantly kissed 90 when 45 was there. So they won't 47 do the same. Whatever that, I don't understand.
Hmm.
Okay. RC, I'm not sure. Okay, so thank you, Pavel, my trading warrior brother. I hope your role continues, and I know it's not a role because you do the work, you work hard, and you've been around a while.
Yeah,
I'm
thanks,
so
Dale.
I'm impressed with that copper call. Was nice. I'm glad I saw it. Always tag me when there's something
Okay.
you want me to remember,
Okay.
and follow Pavel on X, everybody, at spreadcharts.com, at spreadcharts.com. Follow Pavel. He's got some very interesting insights. I wouldn't have been thinking about some of the things that he brought up. That chart on the dollar was pretty interesting down there. So everyone have a great day. Don't just count your copper wire. I don't know how you count copper wire. Don't You don't have to go into empty houses and tear out the copper. All right.
Just wait for
It's
lower
only,
prices.
and if you do, you have to sell it right away because it's going to $3. And maybe that's when you go back into stripping houses of copper. So give the plumbers a break and don't just count your pips, count your blessings. And thank you, Pavel.
Thanks, Dale.
Good hunting, buddy.
Thanks. Bye.
All right, so that's a wrap, everyone. You could join the team in 14 minutes on the Morning Edge. They had a great day yesterday. But the way I hear it, people in the chat room had a good month yesterday. So you want to be part of it. And I'll see everyone. We'll wrap the week. TGIF tomorrow. Adios.